Suddenly I feel very honored and privileged to be standing before this session. I was here on Tuesday at the opening, and I heard that we have a gathering of over 20 countries. So it makes it very international, and I must say that I'm very impressed at the organization. I'm very impressed about the quality of people you managed to put together. And you're welcome to Ghana. I'm also excited, but when I received the invitation, I asked myself a number of questions that, am I qualified to come and speak to you? The subject was changed twice. But the second time I got the second one, I said, I'm more comfortable with this because I'm someone who would want to talk about innovation a lot. Every time you call me about innovation, I'll talk about it. So I'll just spend 2 minutes to tell you about what I have done so that you would understand where I'm coming from. My company is 26 years old and arguably will be the preferred print house. If you are able to cross that argument of we being the expensive printer, but that is in the scale of things, if you consider your work as the preferred job and you want the quality that will give you to international standards, then I'm sure price would not count. And so we've done this for 26 years and still counting. And I remember those days where we would print books for a number of people who are seated here. We were the favorite of corporate Ghana. We'll print annual reports, we'll print Christmas cards, calendars, and so forth. 5 years ago, we discovered that the digital transformation was gradually coming home. And so it was frightening. And being a printer, I'm sure you understand what it means, because even publishers are moving away from printers now. And so our work was becoming endangered. And as we speak now, what we used to do 5 years ago, the print that we used to do 5 years ago, I guess we are doing less than 20% of what we were doing 5 years ago. And that's frightening. But when I look at my numbers, I see a growth that we double up almost every year in the volume of work we do. What happened? We had to also reinvent ourselves, transform how we see ourselves, and instead of seeing ourselves as printers, we saw ourselves as communicators, and build capacity in many areas that people didn't think that we could. And so we got into security, we got into technology, and we built a robust technological center that today, if you pick up a phone and you call, chances are that you are putting money in my pockets. And I'm not talking about only MTN, I'm talking about Airtel, Tigo, I'm talking about Glo, I'm talking about Vodafone, every one of them. How did the printer stray into this IT world? But it took us looking closely at what we do and deciding that we have capacity in something that can be translated into doing something else. So today we print variable data, we print QR codes, we print many other things that will be useful for whether it's lottery, whether it's labels, whether it is raffles, whatever, we can do it at such a speed that we are able to deliver more than 10 million a day. We have bullion vehicles that crisscross the city of Accra doing daily deliveries of our products. That said, I would want us to begin our project for the day: marketing, distribution, and sales in a digital era. Trustees, delegates of the conference, distinguished colleagues in the book industry, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be here. My theme is marketing, sales, distribution in a digital era. And I guess a lot has been said over the past few days. If I look at the timetable, the program, I think that a lot has been said on this subject. And so it has set the tone for me to also carry on from there. What today we are going to do is to launch deep into innovative strategies, marketing strategies, and unravel the secret of what has disrupted or is about to disrupt our industry. And I guess that if I was talking to millennials, I'm sure they would understand what I'm talking about. It depends whether you were born before technology or after technology. Whichever way, we need to embrace it, because either you adapt it or you become extinct. This morning I was looking at my little boy who is 12 years old, and he's asking me questions as if writing a letter belongs to the archaic Stone Age. In his room, he has a HomePod. I don't know if you know a HomePod, but he wakes up in the morning, or he's even going to bed, he wants to hear a preaching message when he is going to bed. So he is going to bed, he turns off the light and says, Siri, give me a message from. Then Siri will play a message from this pastor, this message he wants to hear. He wakes up in the morning, Siri, give me a worship song. And the worship song comes. Give me some volume. Siri, good morning, I'm off. Go off. Then it turns off. Siri, lights on. And that's what the world has become. And so, if he even wants a book, would he find that book on Siri? Your book, would he find it on Siri? Because it doesn't matter whether the person is reading or he has access to audio. What is important is for the message to come to the person. And so that's where we want to get to. But as Africans, we're going to address this phenomena and try to look at it in our context. But as we look at it in our context, we should also throw our tentacles out there and not only localize it, but we have to globalize it. Because when the man who created Visa was creating Visa or MasterCard, he didn't have America or Europe in mind. He had a global view of Visa or MasterCard. And I'm wondering why M-Pesa cannot be used in Ghana, why it can be used in US. We are so local in our thinking that we don't consider it as another option. Why is PayPal everywhere? Because they believe that the borders have come down. We are in a global village. And so they don't need permission to come to Ghana. They come, their products are coming. And we have to also know that our products can also go there. Are we making use of it? We wait for a particular time of the season to sell our products to a particular designated audience. And so we see our colleagues who are sitting by us as our competitors. But they are not our competitors. They are supposed to be partners. And today we are going to address what we can do to make sure that we put all the 1, 2, 3, 4 together to create a bigger pie for ourselves. The Bible tells us that 1 will put 1,000 to flight, but 2 will put what? 10,000. And so if we don't have only Kenya here, we have Nigeria here, and we have South Africa, we have everyone here. I think that we are a major force. And if we put it together, I should be able to find a Kenyan book here. Can I? Maybe no. I have to contend with the expensive cost of sending my books, which will be maybe 5 times more expensive than bringing it even all the way from the US. Are you aware that it costs more to even trade amongst ourselves in Africa than trade with Europe or trade with America? That's a shame. And that's something that I believe we can use technology to address and bring all the cost down. Now, I would want us to put this discussion in perspective. And to do that, I would want to, I left my pen. I would want to make these three statements. It's likely to have an effect on you, and you will tell me the effects it had on you. By 2020, we believe that digital technology will influence 50% of sales. And 2020 is how many years from now? It's 2 months away. 2 months away. And it doesn't mean that it's going to affect sales just starting from next 2 months. It started, and this is an estimation, so it's likely that it's even going to do much more than 50% of the sales. So if you're selling your books in Nigeria, and you can sell just a quantum, I'm telling you that you have lost 50% of your sales if you have not taken advantage of digital technology. 10.3 million Ghanaians are internet users, and that is your market. I mean, imagine that you print a book and you are happy to sell 5,000. And I'm sure the 5,000 you will give a testimony the next Sunday. But that's your market. 5.8 million are active social media users. Social media users spend an average of 3 hours and 7 minutes per day online. So they are very active, and that's your market. If you printed a flyer, I'm shooting myself in the foot. If you printed a flyer from me and you placed it here, chances are that only those seated here will see, and some would not even see. Some would not bother to even read or consider it. And so that is a potential market. If you see the potential market and you see the demographics, then when you were creating the content, you would consider the content carefully. That the market is not Ga readers alone, not Fanti readers. Ga is a local language in Ghana, and Fanti is also a local language in Ghana. You have to consider that that is a market that lives and thrives and sleeps on the net. I haven't even considered other people who live outside this border. So I'm talking about only Ghana. That's frightening. And that's, for me, I wonder what you think. What's your reaction? What's your reaction? Is it fear? Because what it is that somebody else is also selling his products in your market. You write a math book or you write a Christian literature. Somebody, Benny Hinn, has access to our market. TB Jakes has access to our market. People are tuning in and watching and listening and reading and buying. This market is huge. There's a preacher in Nigeria, TB Joshua. They have channels here, and people are watching online. They have structured testimonials. They put testimonials online for people to see and be provoked to go. So people are leaving and trooping. And so that's a market. So sometimes you think that I'm afraid, it means that I have lost it all. Are you anxious? Or you are excited? What's yours? I am very excited, because then it means that it opens up the market for me. Now, I would want us to do some history. And the history philosophers and the historians will say that the first industrial revolution, we want to look at the history of digital technology. And it's said that the digital revolution belongs to the fourth revolution. People think that there's been only 3 revolutions, but in actual fact, there's a fourth one. The first revolution actually used water and steam power to mechanize production. And that was huge. I mean, it caught the front pages. Then second industrial revolution used electric power to create mass production. So that's where you saw the garment factories making a lot. You saw a lot, food industry, they actually mechanized, they used electric power to create mass production. Then the third industrial revolution, which unfortunately, sadly, some of us are still yet to even unravel the mystery behind the third industrial revolution, because it uses electronics and information technology to automate production. And so a lot of production today is automated. Without you touching it, the machine actually does a series or a sequence of operations without you touching it. Then the fourth industrial revolution is actually building on the third one, which is the digital revolution. If you haven't understood the mystery behind the third industrial revolution, pretend as if it didn't exist and jump to the fourth. And that's what I do. Jump to the fourth. All aspects of life is disrupted today. All aspects of life. And today, I can confidently say that we stand at the brink of technological revolution. And it has the ability to alter the way we live, work, and even relate to each other. In its scale, scope, and complexity, the transformation would be unlike anything humankind has seen. And it's going to be massive. Massive in the sense that there's going to be a time when you would want to talk to somebody and the person will be here. And I'm not talking about the future, it exists today. So you can actually see the person, and the person can react even to what you are saying. And it happens. We do not know yet how it will unfold, but we can see symptoms of it. One thing is clear, that the response has to be coordinated, integrated, and all aspects of life would have to come together. It's all stakeholders, the public, the private sector, the academia, and the civil society would have to come together to actually get to understand and pursue this agenda. Printing has been disrupted. And in this particular case, you can see that the banking has even been disrupted. We used to take cash. Cash was king. Unfortunately, in Africa, cash is still king here. Yeah, and I'm saddened to say that even there are some institutions who would not even migrate to taking even a check, which is obsolete. In the UK, in the next maybe 5 years, checks will be banned. People in Ghana, many more people are using the ATM cards, or what we call the Visa, or the debit card, the credit card. But when you go to Europe and you go to America, to the West, they have migrated even into that single tool of a mobile phone. So you use technology to make payments. If you want to make payments, you just show them your phone, and payment is done. As simple as that. And they are gradually developing the possibility of using your eye to make payments. Yes, to use your eye to make payments, because your eye is so unique. So the banking industry is one typical one. Now schools. There used to be a time when if you want to go to school, University of Ghana, you have to walk to University of Ghana. Today you can be in Tamale and still be a student in University of Ghana. You can even travel and do online. Webster University is here. So still assessing education and getting the same products that you would get sitting in a classroom with your teacher. Or the music industry. I'm very comfortable talking to you here because you understand where music has come from the 8-track days to the gramophone days when you had a turntable. And if I was talking to maybe a 30-year-old, then it would have been difficult for me to explain because my son doesn't even know a cassette. The closest he can identify music is a CD, but he doesn't even use a CD today. Today, with just $99, you can have access to all music all over the world. So I subscribe to iTunes, and I can just play any music. But I'm just wondering how many African music we have on iTunes today for other people to also access and buy. A few. Maybe we think that it's not necessary. Then it has migrated. Today, music is in the cloud. Nobody's buying music. Nobody's buying music. How many of us have cassettes? How many of us have CDs? If you have a CD player, then you belong to the past. You buy cars today, and the closest you find is Bluetooth. They've even taken the CD player out of new cars today. So, Bluetooth. This makes me excited. It makes me excited because technology has brought down the borders and boundaries, and the world has become a big place and a big marketplace. Market means that we can reach everywhere. We can go to Asia, we can go to Europe, and the entire world within our own reach. If there was any reason why we should be excited about this e-generation, then it's because of the global opportunities it offers us to collaborate, distribute, and sell our books wider than before. The world has changed. I'm excited that in my day, scripture has become real. The Great Commission has become possible. Go out there into the world and preach the gospel to every creature. Are you going to Singapore? Are you going to America? Some of us would not go or might never go. But your word can reach somebody there on the wings of technology. And there are many ministries who are taking advantage of it and making sure that their presence and their ministry reaches out to other people beyond our borders. The days when you could smuggle Bibles into the forbidden lands of the world are over. With technology, it goes. So the borders, they are gradually softening their stance because if they've realized that if you physically decide to protect and build a physical wall, you would not be able to police what you want to police. So they are trying to use technology to even eavesdrop on the content that gets into certain countries. But we can go around it and build our own structures and communication channels to reach out there with our material. People out there want material to use that is suitable to them. As Africans, sometimes we want it in our language. Sometimes we want it in our culture. We want it in with windows and pictures that would communicate with us. Acts 1:8 says that, but you will receive power, and when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witness in Jerusalem. And I think that Jerusalem could easily be Accra. And in all Judea, Nairobi, and Samaria, Lagos, and to the ends of the world, Australia or Iraq. So that's scripture here. And nothing could be even more true than embracing technology to achieve this purpose. Very few of us can send missionaries all around the world. We can try and do our best, but with technology, we can reach out to many, many more. How many of us are active on social media? I don't mean WhatsApp. I don't mean WhatsApp. Let's take out Facebook. But you can see that we are losing out on our presence. We don't have footprint on the net. And there are people who are doing so well, sending their brand out there, sending their content out there. And it's about time that we also took a little bit of the pie. The key challenge facing many publishers today is the speed with which technology is causing paradigm shifts. So you try to understand something, and by the time you understand it, another technology has come over and taken over. We were trying to understand Wi-Fi. Then Bluetooth comes in, and then cloud computing. Now they call something big data, where they are collecting data today for use in the next 20 years. And unfortunately, we haven't embraced it even here yet. A friend of mine, 25 or 27 years ago, traveled to the US. Those days, you could travel to the US even if you are not resident there, get a social security number. And he got a social security number, and the number they gave was just for identification. And 5 years down the line, he travels again, this time with an immigrant visa. And so he had a legitimate right to ask for a social security number. So he just fills his forms without telling them that he had come there earlier and had a social security number. So they process it, and when they bring the package, lo and behold, the social security number is the same social security number that was given before. How did they do it? I'm talking about almost 30 years ago. So somebody was thinking 30 years ago that data was so important. Why do you travel through Schiphol, Heathrow, Amsterdam, New York, and someone is ready, willing to allow you to access the internet and give you free data? Here, if I ask somebody to give me to hotspot, he will ask me how much time are you going to be on it so that you keep your data. But there, they are willing to give it to you for free. And let's wise up. You know why they're doing that? They need that data for tomorrow. And so they're asking you for information that normally in your normal state of mind you won't provide. They can ask you for your name, your email address, your date of birth, everything. You give it all free and still expect that they will give you the data. They give it to you and tell you can use it for 1 hour. Then the data is stored. And so that, I'm confused because I saw the time left. I don't understand how. They told me I have an hour. But yes. They told me I have an hour, but anyway. So let's go on. The disruptive digital revolution has affected every aspect of the book supply chain. It has affected our writing. Today, you don't need a writer here. Someone possibly has written a book for a child, which works here. The book is good enough for here, so why don't I adapt it, and instead of having Hassana, change it to Kofi or Abigail or something, and then you adapt it. And so if it's even affected writing, that if I write in English, I can use technology to even translate it. And I don't need a translator. Someone is losing his job. Illustrators, designers. Now we have designers without borders. And so if you throw your manuscript out there, the designers have a common membership in that particular space. And so you throw your manuscript out there and tell them that this is my concept. I want a book cover of this concept. I want a dog sitting on a cat in Africa. And so you give it to them, and they give you a cost, which is a fraction of what your local designer will charge, which will take maybe about 2 or 3 weeks to get. But this person will give it to you in 24 hours. How do they do it? I don't know. They charge a fraction. Book designing. Now there are templates that you just drop your text in. And designers are today losing their jobs because the softwares are becoming user-friendly, that you don't need to go to school to use it. Gone are the days. I am a trade graphic designer, so when I talk, you understand that when I was in school 30 years ago, you were seen as a very special, unique person who is called a desktop publisher, a designer. And you don't touch me because what I know to do, you can't do. Today, everybody is calling out my software. Everybody knows Photoshop. They all know InDesign. They know Illustrator. They know how to convert to EPUB. They know PDF. So you leave me with nothing. Why do you think I should still be a designer? I'm not a designer today. I found something else to do. So that is where the world is moving to. So why do we still call ourselves publishers and think that ours is just to write a book and print the book? Maybe we are much more than just publishers. Maybe we could consider the content. So we are content developers who would publish whether voice, whether audio, whether pictures, video, text. Why don't we expand our own understanding of our work so that it opens up room and opportunities for us? Printing has changed. Gone are the days when you could print. I remember, I'm a designer, so I understand what printing means. That we used to have the dark room, and then we'll make plates, metal plates, and you chase the printer, and the printer tells you he's not finished, he's doing imposition. We used to have movable type, which was letterpress. Then we migrated to offset, lithography. Then we had the dark room, and we had the positive plates, and then we print, and then we fold, and we stage perfect binding, and so forth. All that has changed. Today, if you came to me and told me that you have a manuscript or you have a book and you are not too sure how the book is going to go, so you want the book you want 4 copies of the book, 24 hours, I should be able to give the books to you. You want to launch a book, yet you don't have the money to launch the physical book. I can give you 10 copies, 20 copies, 100 copies, go and launch the book and take pledges. And then when you have a better view, perspective of what the market size is, then you go to offset or lithography to print for cheaper, of course. So it allows you not to stock. It allows you the variety. So after the launch, you take feedback and go and edit and improve the content. And for me, nothing works better than embracing technology, which allows you and I to work better than we have worked in the past. So publishing, distribution has also changed. Now today we have, I'm not sure if those in Ghana know about Nook Book. There's a gentleman or a concept in Ghana that someone actually stocks a minimal quantity of your books. You just go there and order the books you want. So all of you can all put your titles there and request. And you don't pay even online. You don't pay online. You deliver and I pay. And so even if you order and he doesn't have it, a dispatch rider will come with an empty box to Step Magazine, pick the book, put it in, and deliver for a fee. And nothing works better than leaving your books at the bookshop and wait for a year for you to go and collect your dusty books. And at the end of the day, the commission is what? We have booksellers here, so I guess I have to. So much. Book sales, payment has changed. Now you have Visa, we have M-Pesa, we have, in Ghana we have, I don't know how far the Momo or the mobile payment goes, but Momo is so effective. But unfortunately, it hasn't progressed as much as M-Pesa. But I would want to see us, as Africans, develop and build a strategy that will go beyond Africa. So those who are buying or paying for our material don't necessarily have to worry about what it costs to pay. Now, you come to Ghana, PayPal doesn't work, but it works in other African countries though, so I believe that with time, maybe PayPal will come. Visa works though, but I guess that we can together work out a strategy so we can all benefit from it. So this is what I told you about the adoption of global content. Book designing and formatting has gone borderless. Printing, you have several options. Book distribution has changed, and payment has also changed. Now there are opportunities that I want us to look at. Schools are offering online and distance education. And it's about time that publishers identify targeted opportunities and get into. During my day in school, you could have a very good economics teacher in St. Augustine's, Utifafafoli. He would use a cycle-styling machine to replicate his books and sell to how many people? But it doesn't go far. Unfortunately, that didn't work. University lecturers are also replicating their books. But this is an opportunity for us to use cloud hosting to sell books. So that Holy Child or Wesley Girls High School or Augustine's person who has good content can sell his books to Sunyani Secondary School, can sell it to Katakrachi Secondary School. He can even sell it to Nigeria because the content is good. So why should I limit myself to my 200 students who have to take my course and without any shame have to buy my book in order to pass my exam? And they come up with such ridiculous offers because they want to pay for the content. But if you do that, it becomes cheaper because you have a wider reach. Instead of selling for 20 cedis, you can sell it for 1 cedi. And restocking doesn't cost more. That's the good thing about technology. When you restock, nobody tells you that you have sold 1 million books and you need to restock because you have 3 million people who want the books. You don't need to restock. So that's technology. So the earlier we adapt it, the better. Anti-piracy. You have to physically go to Afram Place, which is beyond a certain river in Ghana, to distribute your books. But if you adapt technology, it will become so cheap that nobody would even consider, because what the person who's buying the pirated book wants is the content. So if you can do it at a cheaper rate than reprinting, you will do it. I remember I used to print the Daily Guide and Daily Power for Scripture Union. And once we went to Kenya, to the Scripture Union branch in Kenya, and they asked that, I didn't understand the whole concept of piracy, but the Nigerians came with another philosophy. They said, even the Daily Guide and Daily Power, people are pirating. They wait for the book to come out, and the next day somebody buys a copy and he's out there and he's distributing. Why? Because they were not printing enough because the demand outstrips the supply. And once the demand outstrips supply, by all means there will be that link that will get them to actually pirate. And so ebooks will come in to deal with that shortfall. If I don't have it, I will just go for ebooks. you have a certain group of people who would obviously want the tactile effect of a book. And those people belong to our generation. But even then, I can see a few of our generation who are moving into the digital space. School notes prepared by teachers can be published and consumed, just as I said. Then e-libraries are coming up. But unfortunately, we don't have local content to put the books in the library. Why can't we consider, as a country, as a continent, consider a huge library of books that would consolidate all the content so people could actually go there, borrow the books, because when you borrow the books, you borrow them at a fraction of buying the content. Very little, but it's time bound. So you are borrowing it for 1 month, 2 weeks, and then it evaporates from your device. But you can still own it like a Kindle, like what Amazon does. But these are concepts that can easily be investigated. We can't do it alone. Unfortunately, I see many of us try in our own corners to do it. So someone thinks that it's a profitable venture. I have been there, and it's not profitable. I remember I came up with azaliabooks.com, and very interesting concept, got 500 books online. Unfortunately, the 500 authors and publishers who put it there just put a book there and go to sleep. They go to bed. They are not willing to activate or go and even promote what they have given me and expect that I would promote all the 500 books. But you don't know that Amazon doesn't do that. When you put your books on Amazon, they won't promote it. If they even do, they have millions of books. Why would your book even show up? But it's for you to use whatever means possible to promote and point people to your books. If we all did that and put it on a particular common platform, when I go there, I don't see Ghanaian content alone. I know Nigerians are writing, Kenya is writing, South Africa is writing. I should be able to find content there that will be useful for all of us. And the byproduct is that other people will also take interest in what we are doing and buy from it. Unfortunately, we don't have that. When digital transformation is done right, it's like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. But when done wrong, all you have is a really fast caterpillar. You don't want a very fast caterpillar. That's not what you want. So how do we adapt to this change? That is a question that is of interest to us this morning, this afternoon. How do we adapt to this change? There are opportunities there that we should be looking at. We need to build capacity as Africans. Let us demystify the whole idea of technology and embrace it. Let us not think that technology means Facebook or WhatsApp alone, but you need to understand what it is all about and the opportunities that it offers. What data means to us, what communication means to us, what benefits we can get, what options and opportunities are there for us. We need to do that. As we build capacity, we need also to gradually introduce the millennials into our fold. Unfortunately, publishing houses are not attracting enough technologically minded people who would be given the freedom to innovate and develop new products for us. They are willing to go to the telecom companies because they will pay them more, the banks, and develop new products for the banks, new products for manufacturing. But why are we not developing new products for publishing because we don't attract them. We are not attractive enough. If we are not even able to attract them, we can adapt the services of people who are set up to do that and give them clear understanding of what we want. That I want to open up space for more people to see my books. I want to develop a platform or a portal that will give access to many other people outside my region. We need to digitize our backlist. Many of us still carry material that is not digitized. And if someone asked us for a copy, new copy of our book, we would be found wanting. The closest would be to photocopy for them. And for those of us who even come close, they are in Word or sometimes in PDF. But let us be ready and convert it into formats that can easily be mounted on a digital host. So EPUB, for instance, is one that is useful. We need to set up a functioning website. And a functioning website means that one that is visible, one that can be integrated, one that can be responded to. We need to get responses to what we do. Set up the needed legal framework. Understand what there is to do and what not to do. There's digital rights. How many of us know the digital rights? There are digital right management softwares that will protect your rights or your intellectual content so that it's not abused. So let us understand the framework that we are working in. We need to form partnerships with institutions to link their libraries to National Library Database. And so this gathering should be so important to us that we should be able to even use this as a launch pad to seek interest from several countries. That if we are able to create a common platform that will exchange ideas, that will exchange a common revenue sharing model, I guess there will be business people who will be interested in that model. Business is not only about one person coming up with an idea. A group of people like that should be able to come up with a good business proposition that I have in my membership 1,000 publishers who each publish 5 books a year. If we consolidate all of them together, this is what we have, and this is what we can give. This is the market size we are looking at. So there should be research based to actually make a business case. And I won't be surprised if there are people here who show interest that for the African-based platform we are talking about that has a capacity to distribute and sell books, the person will be interested in putting money into it. Why, if you have even a book in Tanzania, or say Kenya, or Nigeria, your physical book should not necessarily be here. Why can't we have a print-on-demand outlet here, another one in Nigeria, another one in Kenya, another one in South Africa? So once I go there and I make an order, immediately they look at your location and then send the physical book to you within 24 hours because it's digitally printed and bound and delivered. That's what Amazon is doing. They don't stock the books we buy. But sometimes we think that they have a huge warehouse that they stock the books. They don't stock the books. So why can't we do that? I guess it's food for thought. We need to consolidate our products onto a single platform. A single platform that will not only host books for sale, but host books for lending, books for printing, develop even manpower and capacity, and so forth. Set up a national book pool It's exactly, it ties into what I'm talking about, and an online distribution and sales outlet. Now, this is what I was talking about. That's azaliabooks.com, which unfortunately was frozen. I've had to freeze it now because you pay almost $20,000 a year and make sales of $1,000 a year. The only way to revive such a project will be for us to work our numbers so that we have people like you promote your own books on the platform. And I'll hate to mention names because there are people who are seated here who have books there, but they've never bought a book on the platform before. Because when you buy it, I'll see. I would want to see you promote your own books. Don't promote my book. Promote your own book. If you go for your launching, it should be another option. So you want the physical book, you can have it here. If you want, but they are quick to send people to Amazon rather than an African-based product. That's a shame. If we are able to consolidate all of it here, you will see that even the cost of transporting the books will be cheaper because it will cost you maybe about 2 cedis or 5 cedis to send the book from here to Ghana. But if I'm sending the book from here to Kenya, it will cost me an hour and maybe. So then Book Nook is the other one I was talking about, that other people, other publishers, unfortunately, there are many other publishers outside this country who have brought their books to be hosted on it. And I remember I bought my Tintin from there. I bought Asterix from there. And they just delivered it in 24 hours. I don't know how they did it, but they sold it. And so if you have books, why not? Because you don't lose anything. Just a minimum stock that will be there. And so the change has started. The way forward, still the way forward, build or create aggregators for books from across the continent or form partnerships. That's exactly what I was saying. Then the print on demand, collaboration, investments. The last point about way forward that I want to talk about is philanthropic publishing. Many times we consider selling only as the only option to let books go. But we should be considering giving for free. If you wrote 20 books, what is wrong with giving one book out for free? What it does is that you give people the opportunity to taste of your competence or your material. And in exchange, the person finishes and he comes over to buy a second or a third one. Each time I've gone online to buy a book, now it shows me that those who bought this book have also bought these 3 other books. And more than once, I have gone there to buy those books. And so it's a trick. What do you lose? After all, it's an ebook. It's an ebook. So write another one. If you don't have a free one, write another book and give it out for free. And you will see that whilst you are giving it out for free, people are also consuming many other books by you. Before we'll be able to take advantage of that, I think as publishers who do a trade in Africa would have to change the way we think. We should see technology as an enabler and an opportunity, not a threat. For me, when I see technology, I see it as a good thing. I'll show you an example. For some strange reason, almost every year or 2, you will get the tax officers come to the company to come and do an audit. And every time they will try to put on glasses to see what they shouldn't be seeing and levy you bills that sometimes there's nothing, but it will create a situation. And I said, and it's either someone made a mistake and wrote a double invoice for the same job, or they made a mistake and didn't do the recording properly, or something. I just decided that, look, I need technology to manage this. So I put what they call the Enterprise Resource Planning Software, ERP, in place. So now when they come, I give them a chair, I give them a computer, and then they do their audit. When they finish their audit, they go very angry because they didn't get anything. And they, to the extent that because they know when they send the tax guys out there, they always come with money, they would, in one particular year, they send them twice. Second person from the head office to go and audit the work of the first audit. Because how come? It's not possible that you went and you didn't see anything. You should see something. So technology came to our refuge. So let us see technology as the enabler. I got into a particular trade. And when I got into the trade, I was losing money, but I had invested almost $3 million in that trade, and I couldn't go back. But my pricing was such that I was losing money. I had to bring somebody from the US, pay the person $700 a day for 3 weeks to analyze and study my production process, and realize my waste was 22%. He managed to analyze it and structure it such that the waste came down to 5%. Now, from 22 to 5%, that increases my margin. So it's shot up straight from losses to profitability. And he used technology to do that, just to measure every single process that I'm engaged in. And then, when you get the data, you analyze it and see where the loopholes are. We need to deliberate about transformation of the industry. The industry is moving. And so we need to sit and discuss how the new way we are going to, our posture for the industry. In Ghana, and I'm sure the publishers will not be happy with me, when you talk about a publisher, it's a publisher who at a certain time of the year would go for a bid, a tender, and win a government tender and print books for maybe a school. And that gives you a lot. But after the tender and is printed, we go to sleep. We don't have, and I'm sure I'm waiting for someone to prove me wrong, we don't have off-season publishers who are writing religiously, whether there's a season or not. You're just writing content after content. We need to develop that. Innovation, call for new ideas as a response to our problem. And sometimes you need to disrupt your own industry. You need to disrupt your own industry. That if one thing is not working, you need to create a product that will make your users not even use the same product that you used to have, but purchase the new one. And the same it goes with the ebook, because if you promote ebooks, it means that the physical product will not be bought. So you are actually disrupting your own industry, because whether you like it or not, a time will come that newspapers in Ghana will become relics. In the Western world, newspapers are maybe archival material. Your competitor might not be in your own industry. Your competitor could be somebody else who is also finding a way of getting your content to someone, or getting some content to someone. So the person doesn't have to be a publisher. Sometimes we see competition coming from our colleagues, our friends. Someone went into my space and wrote a book that serves as competition. No. I traveled to Kumasi one day, and I went to the same hotel that I normally go and reside. This time I went and the place was very free. No, you didn't have, and it was a Saturday. And so I asked that, why is this place free? But Kumasi, Saturday, there are funerals, so I expect that your hotel will always be full. And they told me that it's because the flight to Kumasi this time flies at night. before, flights were leaving before 5 o'clock. By 5, there were no lights on the runway, so flights were not leaving after 5. Now, when they pushed it to 9 p.m., people didn't need to sleep, because if you sleep, you spend $200 extra, and the ticket cost you $50. And so I would go for the funeral, finish it, and then fly back to Accra. And so hotels are now struggling, not because other hotels have popped up, but because the airlines have changed their model. And it's interesting that competition can come from nowhere, somewhere that you don't even know. My competition is coming from social media. Because people don't print flyers, and they will put their adverts on social media. So my competition is coming from, so it's not coming from a printer. People are not printing calendars. Why? People are not printing calendars. Why? Because they have mobile phones, and their date calendars are all on it. And so it's interesting for us to, now we need to also think global. I've touched on it, so it's time, so I'll try and speed up. We need to think global, not think too local. Write books that will serve the interest beyond your borders. With your material, I see it in the music industry that when they sing, they try to invite Nigerian singers to collaborate so that their music will be sold across the border. But that's just Nigeria, Ghana. Why don't you want to go to Kenya? So material should also be circulated around enough, and you have to pay particular attention to the content. And we should also be fast about it. We are too slow. So whilst we are trying to unravel what has happened to us, there's another technology that is coming, and we wake up, and by the time you wake up and you see it, it happened 2 years ago. The disruption happened 2 years ago. So we need to be very fast about it. Are we still writing tracts and distributing tracts? Is there no, don't we have better ways of distributing tracts? But that's not to say that stop distributing the tracts the way you do it. We can still adapt it. And we should also be ambitious and not mediocre. We are not, with the exception of our brothers in Nigeria, Nigerians are bold. When you have a Nigerian come into the room late, he will not sit at the back. He will come and sit in front. And he will come and sit in front and adjust himself and ask that, what are you talking about? But my brothers would come and do this, as if they don't want to disturb anybody. And yes, but the Nigerian doesn't care. But let's be bold about what is happening to us. And let's take the bull by the horn. It doesn't matter whether your competition is a white man or an American or whatever. You can also do it. Let's be confident. In my circles, sometimes you tell people I want someone to share a word of prayer, and everybody's looking somewhere. You know that you can pray, but why do you want somebody else to pray? Get up and pray. Why don't you? So let's get our shoulders up. Let's be generational thinkers. Let's consider succession planning. What would posterity say about us? That we let our industry down, or we left an industry to a generation who are able to uphold it? Because it's only in the technology we use that will allow us to keep a footprint of what we are doing. Otherwise, we want even Anansi stories, and we will not find Anansi stories. We want Kweku Anansi, we can't find. Sometimes there was someone in the US who was teaching in the US and wanted some local language, local content. It took me so long to find those stories. It was Sam Wood who got it for me. But if Sam Wood didn't have it, those stories will be dead. So let's hold it with both hands and our chest. Let's bring in the millennial. Collaborate and let's think about collaboration and partnership and harvest the data. Do we know who is buying our books? Do we know? We don't have data on the people who are buying our books. If you collect the data, what it does is that it allows you to analyze your data and know what they want, their preference, their age demographics, where they live, what kind of books they are buying, and so forth. It helps you write even for a particular target audience, rather than just writing the book and sell. And if you sold 1,000 books, do you know who bought the books? Are they students? Are they business people? Are they Christians, beginners, or they are pastors? We don't care about data, but we need to consider the use of data. When you have data, you are able to, that becomes your congregants. So when you write a new book, you already have space and following to actually send information to and talk to and harvest the data. These have more or less talked about almost everything. Sale of full publication, chapters, upselling, hosting adverts, and so forth. Distribution channels. I talked about official websites like Azalea Book Nook and Digi Books, mobile apps and computer softwares, third-party sales platform. I've talked about all that, and I gave you a bit of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the E-generation. Book publishing has changed. The marketplace has changed. If you have not located and taken advantage of the new paradigm, then you are losing out. I hope I've provoked you enough. Change is here. Are you ready for it? I am. What about you? Thank you very much.